Hi everybody, we're doing a little tech tip again today, and something that I've been noticing lately is quite a few guys breaking their rod tips. Now, fishing rods do break. We abuse these rods. We really pull hard on big fish with them. We put these rods down on the bricks often. They give it a nick and they do break. But there are a few ways which break rods which we can prevent. And today I'm going to give you guys 3 tips on how to prevent your tip on your rod from breaking. So I hope it helps you, and maybe in the future it can save you a lot of money, because fishing rods are very expensive and the last thing you want to do is break a tip on a rod. Alright, so the first common way in which fishing rods break is when you fight a fish or when you're landing a fish. Both the action is exactly the same on the tip. The rod is not designed to bend the way it bends. I'll show you guys exactly now what I mean by it, and that's how they break. So the first example of how tips break, and this is something I experienced a week ago with a friend. By mistake he did this and broke a tip on his Medusa, and it turned out to be a very costly exercise. When you land a fish, often, especially the flat fish like rays and sandies and honeycombs in our coast, we're wading out on sandbanks, and you tend to grab your leader line and pull the fish towards you, especially with a lot of guys fishing with you. You don't want the fish to swim between their legs, so we wrap the leader around our hand and sort of guide the fish over the shallow banks to the shore to take the hooks out and measure it and take a photo. Now, a common mistake the guys do is they've got the fish on the end of the line there. There's a lot of pressure on the rod here. They grab their line like this and they're walking back to shore, pulling the fish. But what they're not noticing is that they're actually putting a lot of pressure on the tip, pulling it straight down. And that's what I meant by saying the rod is not designed to bend straight down like that. None of our rock and surf rods, or spinning rods for that matter, is designed to bend down in that fashion. And 9 out of 10 times, when you're putting pressure on a tip like this, pulling the tip down and also pulling the rod back, walking with a fish, you will snap your tip. Alright, so that is one common way of breaking the tip. Another way of breaking your tip is when you're fighting a fish. And often when anglers fight a big fish and they've been on for a long time, your back gets sore, they tend to go onto their knees and pull the fish and lose concentration. And this is exactly what happens. They get tired and they're gaining on the fish, and they pull back on the rod like this. And they literally pull the rod behind their shoulders. And if you look at the action of the tip there, that's exactly where the tip's going to snap. It's not designed to bend in that action. So never do this. Never ever lean back into your rod like this and pull the rod past your shoulders. The correct way is to pull a fish at 45-degree angle. The rod's designed to pull like this. It's very unlikely to snap like this. You put a lot of pressure on the fish like this, but never ever pull the rod past your shoulders like this and try and pull a fish, because that's when that tip's going to snap. Alright, so that's the first way in which you can break a tip. Now for the second way, which is also quite common. It happens a lot when we're spinning, but also with our surf casting rods. And it's a very easy mistake to make, but it happens often. So when you're casting a lot, your tip sections actually move a bit. So every time you cast, you're flicking your tip section and even the midsection. And especially in the older rods, that section can become a bit loose. And every time you cast, it moves out a little bit. And what a lot of anglers forget is, especially when you're spinning or fishing a lot, so every 4th or 5th cast, just check the tip and make sure it's still in. And what happens is the tip moves out, and you put a nice big bait and you're on a cast, and the tip snaps right there on the joint because it wasn't in correctly. So a very easy mistake to make. It happens often. It's happened to me a few times as well, due to a lack of concentration. So whenever you're fishing, spinning or casting baits, and it's been a long day on the beach, every 4th or 5th cast, just go and just check your joints. Just pull them in quickly, make sure they're in place before you cast. And just by doing that, you can save yourself a lot of money. Alright, and then the next thing we're going to chat about is line wrap on your tip before you cast. Now this is also something that happens quite often. When you're wading through the water, you got your rod up, you're getting bumped by waves, your bait bounces up and down, and then somehow it gets wrapped around the tip. And you go down to the water, you don't look at your tip, you cast, and your braid's wrapped around the tip here, and it rips the tip off. It'll either snap it here, or it might snap it at the joint, but it's something that quite often happens as well. So that brings me back to one of the previous videos I did, where I said you must just take your finger on the braid and make sure it's loose before you cast. So feel it. If you feel tension, you know it's wrapped somewhere, and you won't have this problem. So tip wrap, where your line, your braid actually wraps around the tip before you cast, is a big reason for tip sections breaking. So 3 things to look at when fishing. First thing, don't pull the rod too far back. Don't grab your line when you've got a fish and pull the tip down. Second thing, make sure your joints are nicely in and nice and secure. If you've got an old rod and the joints are loose and they're not working well, use the little cotton trick we showed in the previous video where you can tighten up that section and it's not loose. And the third thing is to make sure you haven't got a wrap of your braid or your nylon on your tip before you cast. Right guys, so small little tips that can really help you save a lot of money, and just make it a habit when you go to the beach. Check these things when you fish, and for me it helps a lot, and I hope it's going to help for you.